What is up, YouTube? Today we're going to be going over another money play. I'm going to take these headphones off. It sounds all muffled. In the Saints/Miami offense. Now, if you guys have been around for a while, you probably heard me or Chaos even talk about PAY shot. Now, we're using the Saints very specifically because Michael Thomas has crossing specialist. It's going to get you more ad catches on crossing routes. He doesn't have the speed like Tyreek Hill or any of these people, but he has the ability. Abilities matter quite a bit. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that Michael Thomas is running this crossing route. 99 overall, best wide receiver in the game aside from speed. And so we're going to go ahead and run this PAY shot. Now, this is going to be a slight variation from the original one where you streak the slot receiver and you slant the outside receiver. This is going to be something you're going to start working in with that kind of motion slant. So if they start manning up the hitch and all this other stuff, you'll be able to attack that as well. So probably went ahead and exposed it a little bit, but it's going to be essentially the same as the old version. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and cancel the play action. Play action this year, it doesn't really do anything. The defense doesn't really bite down on it. I don't see the point in keeping it, honestly. And then we're going to go ahead and streak our slot receiver, which normally, if I took the time, I'd have a receiver in that tight end position. But because this is just a simple video, I'm not going to worry about it all too much. If I was in the game, of course, you guys definitely need to start doing that. And then we're going to go ahead and put B on a hitch. Now, I didn't mean fade, I meant streak. Now, what's so nice about this is you can use that playmaker, you can use a hitch as a playmaker. So say they were to chase this crossing route, I'm going to go ahead and just man up X to Y. I don't really expect, or X to X, don't expect him to keep up with him whatsoever. But we're going to go ahead and snap this ball, and we're going to utilize playmaker. So the reads are as follows. Streak is the big money yards right there, or you're going to go ahead and hit the hitch. All kind of depends on where the user's at. If they're on the curl flat, you're going to use the hitch. If they're on the cloud flat, you're going to use the hitch. If they're in the middle linebacker and they use one of these hook curls or a mid read or a vertical hook, you're going to use the hitch and playmaker it towards the open space in the field. So let's go ahead and snap this ball. And we'll look for Michael Thomas. Bam. Possession catch. And you can see right there, cheat him all day, every day. And on top of that, with the ability, we're going to have some serious ad catches going on as well. It's kind of like streak specialist, honestly. So now let's go and do that one more time. I'm going to make the same adjustment. Again, this is just kind of representing user. This time we're not going to throw it to the crossing route. We're just going to assume the crosser is not going to get open at all. And we're going to go ahead and snap this ball. All right, so let's just say the user chases that, right? So bam, playmaker hitch. A gain of about 6 or 7 yards. So essentially what we're going to be doing is just picking and choosing. Now, let's just say that they, for some reason, just all of a sudden do something like this. A vertical hook shade down will play a hitch. And let's just go ahead and do that. So they've shaded everything down, right? If they start shading down, this is when they're going to start utilizing the slant, because the hook curls are still going to have to choose what they're going to play. A shade down is going to give up that little hook curl. Bam, you can see slant open late. Bam, dot. If they start making them up, start throwing in the slant. It's just something really simple to start working in. So again, some people, what they may do is they may do something like this, saying, haha, I got you now. We're going to man up the hitch. Hitches, even though they may be manned up, they still get inside leverage even if you shade down. Even with manned up ability, it doesn't matter. You can hit the hitch with a low point pass every single time for an easy gain. So let's just say they man up their hitch, right? So let's snap this ball. They man up the hitch. We could still hit it early, but bam, pass lead it down to the outside. And you can see right there, again, dot with a crossing route. There is no zone in the game that will guard that. But if they start manning up the hitch, you're going to start switching over to the slant instead. With the slant, you do want to start motion and snapping. If you just leave the slant as is, you'll find that you're going to get pressed almost every single time. But if they have a high pressed corner or whatever the case may be, then it's going to be really difficult to get a clean release. By motioning out that slant and then snapping it mid-motion, you're going to get a clean release every single time. And essentially, press doesn't matter whatsoever. I don't think press really matters at all this year. But let's go ahead and audible into a cover 2. So this is just a basic old Tampa 2 that we've audibled into. Same thing, this hitch is going to be even more effective against any kind of cover 2 because it's going to pull that cloud flat down and let Michael Thomas get open over the top as long as he can beat the mid read. Right there, bam, pass lead to the outside, dot. Same thing as always, if they were to chase a crossing route, you're utilizing the playmaker hit. So let's just man them up. This is just kind of trying to simulate a user. Again, this isn't how I use or play it, but same thing. Let's just say they do chase the crossing route. All right, we're not going to throw the crossing route. We're going to say the crossing route's bagged. As always, you see the open part of the field. You're going to go ahead and playmaker hitch to the open part of the field and get an easy dot. Some people, what they may do also, let's just go ahead and do something like this. Let's just go into cover 2 with soft squats instead, or a cover 2 sink. Same exact setup. Hitch. Get it all ready. I'm expecting the soft squat on the left side to follow Michael Thomas. So snap the ball. It doesn't this time, interestingly enough, but bam, right there. Dot. Sometimes you will find that the soft squats in a cover 2 sink will follow these crossing routes. If that is the case, that's when you're going to want to start utilizing these slants. Because we have crossing specialists, you're probably going to still be able to throw it anyways into coverage and come down with it with either a Y catch or an A catch. Don't try, you can try rat catching it, but to be a little bit on the safe side, you want to go for the ad catch almost every single time. Also, I have learned, some people have said that if you lob it or touch pass it, you tend to get ad catches a little bit better than a straight bullet. I don't know if that's true. I really haven't put enough time in lab to actually test that, as I don't really mess around with abilities all too much. If it is true, let me know in the comment section, and maybe I'll go into the lab a little bit more about that. But let's go ahead and try cover 3, shaded over the top. So we now got cloud flats, shade underneath, over top, get cloud flats, goes from hard flat to cloud flat. And we're going to set it up the same exact way. Again, utilizing the playmaker hitch. If you notice that they aren't chasing the crossing route and they're staying in their own zone, that was really bad. I meant to go past lead it to the inside, go out of bounds. That was really battery. But if you notice that they're just staying in their own zone, kind of anticipating the slant coming across the middle of the field, that's when you're going to start hitting the hitch or the slant instead. So it's a very heavy dependent upon just reading the defense and what they're doing on defense. But let's just go ahead and say they stay in their zone, right? Kind of in anticipation of the slant coming across the middle. Pass lead it down to the outside. Bam. Dot. And because crossing specialist is active and double me is active, we're getting that ad catch every time. So a little bit about cover 3. Now, one thing that you do have to be careful about is a cover 4 pressed. So let's just go into a cover 4 drop show 2 pressed. Now, especially if they have a zoned out player, that's when you got to be really careful about doing that. So you notice now I have 3 wide receivers on the field. I had to make that adjustment. I'm sorry, I can't live with it. So in the cover 4 drop show 2 things you got to be worried about, or any kind of cover 4 for that matter. This guy right here will sometimes play that crossing route, especially if he has a zoned out ability. So always be looking for any zoned out players. If there's no zoned out player, you can go ahead and feel free to throw that. Although in a cover 4 drop show 2, especially like a baseline press, I don't know why people would baseline press in a cover 4 drop show 2 like this, because the alignment's awful. But let's just say in a man align press, all right? You're going to have to be careful about throwing this crossing route, because sometimes that outside quarter will play it, or at least play the crossing route a little bit better, because he doesn't have to really worry about that streak coming from the slot receiver. The slot receiver is going to get picked up by the inside quarter, and essentially the outside quarter is free to roam and do whatever he wants to. So let's snap this ball. Michael Thomas, he is still open, but you can see right there the huge difference between him getting open and not. So there's one way to kind of work around that, and that's just to switch who's going on the hitch and who's going on the streak. On top of that, you can motion them out. It doesn't always help as much, but let's go ahead and just press. If they have a zoned out, that's going to be a pick every single time. Let's just see. Let's do a little lab session with you guys right now. Just see how well this plays compared to the other one. So right there, bam, you can see dot. And because we have the crossing specialist, we're going to get ad catches every single time, or just essentially better catching animations in general. So just by switching those two in a pressed cover 4 drop show 2, you notice that we're able to get a little more space between the outside quarter and this crossing route. Again, we'll do it one more time, and we'll even shade underneath. So snap this ball. Stephon Gilmore has to respect that streak, and he's right there. Bam. Off to the races we go. So if you notice that they're in a cover 4, you want to go ahead and just switch up who you streak and who you hitch. If it's a cover 3 or a cover 2, streak the inside, hitch the outside. If it's a cover 4, hitch the inside, streak the outside. You just need to pull the outside quarter downfield and give you a little bit more space. The last one I want to talk about is cover 4 quarters and palms. So in cover 4 quarters, you know, if you go just a little bit further down in 3-4 odd, you'll find it. We'll go back into split close, and we'll go back into this PA Y shot. So cover 4 quarters, we're going to go and set it up the same way as if we were to attack a cover 4 drop show 2. So I'll press and we'll shade underneath. This is the setup. We'll snap this ball. And without dashing Deadeye, you're going to find it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get outside the pocket right there. Apparently, Drew Brees just can't throw any kind of dimes whatsoever. Same thing happens as if it were a cover 4 drop show 2. By switching who we hitch and who we streak, we're able to manipulate the outside zones and allow that crossing route to get a little bit more open. I will say this, if you guys are used to the old version where you slant this guy and streak this guy, the outside quarters, especially by this point in the year in MUT, they're going to be able to play it a lot better with 99 zone, 99 speed. You guys, you know the drill. High speed, high zone players are going to react insanely good to crossing routes when they press, even if it's a cover 3, for example. So we're going to have to start utilizing just switching in between who's hitching and who's streaking. One thing to note is you can motion this guy. You can't motion him out, but you cannot motion snap him. So if you were to put him on slant, you're to try to do the same thing as if you were to do it to B. You cannot motion snap. In fact, I'll show you guys right now what I'm talking about. So we're trying to motion snap. I can't. So there's a little bit of a drawback with doing this particular adjustment. But again, it's kind of at your own discretion. If you notice that they aren't playing the crossing route all too well, and that streak from the slots, pulling down those deep zones good enough, then perhaps you don't need to. On the other hand, if it is playing it pretty good, you're probably going to want to start switching it up and then just using that playmaker as a hit, or using the hitch as a playmaker. Man, oh man. So we're going to go into cover 4 palms, kind of just wrap this up. Let's see, cover 4 palms, we'll go back into this gun split close. So same thing as always, we're going to go ahead and just try it like this, and if that doesn't work, then we're going to switch it up. So we'll go press and shade underneath. Again, this crossing route is just so good because it literally does get underneath every single zone. You can see right there, bam, swerve cat, little baby stop and go on the sideline for an easy dot. That's against cover 4 palms and quarters. I will say this, I want to go into instant replay with this one in particular because this is kind of the frustrating part about palms and quarters in general. Let's just primarily focus on this safety right here. He's playing an inside quarter. This corner right here is playing the outside quarter. All right, so the outside quarter matches really late. But what you may find on occasion is this inside quarter by the safety may match with this crossing route and may match it really, really well. So in this instance, we get a little lucky. The outside quarter matches, like, I don't know why he matched so freaking late, but he matches super late. And you can see right there, bam, wide open, easy dot for a gain of, I don't know how many yards, over 20 yards. So that's cover 4 quarters and palms. The hitch is just going to be utilized depending on where the user is. If they're chasing after the crossing route with the middle linebacker, then obviously you're going to want to use the hitch to playmaker him to the open part of the field. If they're using a flat, user him to the flat. If they're using them to a deep zone, it's going to be a little more tricky, especially if they're using this guy right over here. Good luck trying to work that in because then it's going to be completely smothered. So with that being said, that's going to take care of this video. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure you hit that subscribe button for more money plays, tips, and we're going to start doing some breakdowns of professional gameplay as well. This has been T-Meister. Check out the link in the description for ebooks, merch, blah, blah, blah. You guys know the drill. March 15 as well for 15% off your purchase on Spreadshirt. See ya.